Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to your AEW Dynamite post show. And man, there's a lot to talk about with what happened last night. Honestly, I thought it was probably one of the worst Dynamite episodes that we've gotten pretty much all year. Again, didn't really enjoy the show last night, man. I'll give my thoughts about the show during today's episode and give you guys a full rundown of what happened last night on Dynamite. So let's start off tonight, man. We have MJF defending the AEW World Championship against Kevin Knight. This match was pretty much made from Collision when MJF and Kevin Knight had a little back and forth banter on Collision, which MJF granted Kevin Knight a world title opportunity. And that's what we had to start off Dynamite last night. Kevin Knight versus MJF for the AEW World title. The match itself, I thought, was a decent match. It was a back and forth matchup between Kevin Knight and MJF, with Kevin Knight keeping the pace of the match. Kevin Knight then hits a splash on MJF for a near fall, followed by Kevin Knight hitting a DDT for a near fall. Kevin Knight and MJF fight on the outside, with Kevin Knight hitting a moonsault off the barricade, taking out MJF. Kevin Knight and MJF are in the middle of the ring, but MJF is tied up in the Tree of Woe. This allowed Kevin Knight to go to the top rope, hit a coast-to-coast, taking out MJF. Kevin Knight then goes to the top rope, hits a UFO splash, but MJF kicks the referee into the ropes. This allowed MJF ultimately hit a heat seeker on Kevin Knight, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and still AEW World Champion is MJF. After the match, you can see MJF throwing out the referee. Adam Page is here, pretty much staring down MJF, and then Mike Bailey attacks MJF from behind. Some interesting stuff there from Jet Speed, Adam Page, as well as MJF. Moving on from that, we got a tag team matchup. It is Orange Cassidy teaming up with Darby Allin to take on Gabe Kidd and Clark Connors. Now, the match itself, I thought, was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between both teams, with Clark Connors hitting a spear on Orange Cassidy through the timekeeper's table. Orange Cassidy then hits a Hurricane Rana on Gabe Kidd and Clark Connors in the middle of the ring, followed by Orange Cassidy hitting a beach break in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Cassidy then follows it up by hitting a Stun Dog Millionaire. Darby Allin hits a Code Red as well. Darby then hits a Coffin Drop to the outside. This allowed Orange Cassidy to hit an Orange Punch in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin. Referee then lifts up the hands of Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy, wow, to celebrate their win, but they're both quickly attacked by none other than David Finlay. David Finlay attacks Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin, and it looks like David Finlay is now all elite. Some interesting stuff there from David Finlay. Moving on from that, we got a tag team matchup. The Brawling Birds taking on the Inspiration. This was the Inspiration's AEW Dynamite debut. The match itself, I thought, was an okay match at best, with Brawling Birds pretty much keeping the pace throughout the match, with them ultimately hitting the finish, pins for the 3. And your winners of the match are the Brawling Birds. Hats off to the Brawling Birds for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Adam Page taking on a jobber. This was pretty much like a 10-second match. Glorified squash match with Adam Page hitting a big boot, followed by a buckshot lariat, pins for the 3. And your winner of the match is Adam Page. After the match, Page then grabs a microphone and says that he is putting his entire future on the line at Revolution. Page then also talks about Revolution. He also calls out MJF. MJF is here. MJF then talks about beating Kevin Knight. Don Callis' family are here. They attack Adam Page. Jet Speed are here as well. Don Callis is here. Don Callis then mocks Jet Speed and Adam Page, but then Don Callis says that it will be Jet Speed and Adam Page taking on the Don Callis family later on tonight in the main event for the Trios title. Some interesting stuff there from the Don Callis family. Moving on from that, we have a Continental title eliminator matchup where it is Jon Moxley taking on Hechicero. I thought this was actually a decent match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Moxley and Hechicero, with Moxley and Hechicero both exchanging in the middle of the ring, with Moxley hitting a foot stomp, followed by a running knee, and Moxley ultimately hits his signature Death Rider on Hechicero in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Jon Moxley. After the match, you can see Takeshita coming out to the ring to help out Hechicero, and Takeshita has a stare down with Jon Moxley, pretty much stating that he's coming after the Continental title. Moving on from that, we have Brody King. Brody King's in the middle of the ring, grabs a microphone. Brody yells, "Swerve." King says that he is the most dangerous guy in AEW. Brody then calls out Swerve. Nana is here. Nana then asks Brody King, "Are you sure that's what you want?" After that, Swerve music hits, but Swerve attacks Brody King from behind with a chain. Swerve then chokes King using the chain. Swerve then grabs the microphone and says that the AEW roster is on notice. And Swerve says that he will see Brody King at Revolution. So it looks like we are going to get Brody King versus Swerve Strickland at Revolution to pretty much see who the most dangerous man is in AEW. Moving on from that, we have an AEW Women's Championship matchup where it is Tekla defending the AEW Women's title against Thunder Rosa. Now, the match itself, I thought was a decent match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Thunder Rosa and Tekla, with Rosa keeping the pace of the match. Thunder Rosa hits a stunner on Tekla in the middle of the ring, followed by Rosa hitting a Northern Light suplex on Tekla for a near fall. Thunder Rosa and Tekla both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Tekla hitting a spider suplex on Thunder Rosa. Tekla then follows it up by hitting a spear on Thunder Rosa for a near fall. Rosa then hits a Thunder Driver on Tekla for a near fall in the middle of the ring, but Tekla gets up, hits another spear on Thunder Rosa, followed by 2 foot stomps on Rosa, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and still AEW Women's Champion is Tekla. After the match, Tekla then attacks Thunder Rosa. Chris Statlander is here. AEW security is trying to stop Statlander from getting in the ring to attack Tekla. But Tekla then hits another foot stomp on Rosa. This gets Statlander irate. She goes after Tekla, so it looks like Chris Statlander has some unfinished business with the AEW Women's Champion. Moving on from that, we have Tommaso Ciampa being interviewed by Renee Paquette. Ciampa talks about Fletcher and the TNT title. He also says that Fletcher is hiding behind the Don Callis family and hiding in tag team matches. Ciampa says that he is here to be the top guy. After that, Ciampa is interrupted by FTR. Dax comes out with Cash Wheeler and Stokely Hathaway. Dax quickly hugs Ciampa, and Dax welcomes Ciampa to AEW. Dax then says he wants Ciampa to join FTR. Ciampa says, "No way, we've never been friends, and we're still not friends now." Ciampa says that he hates FTR. After that, Ciampa then smacks Dax hardwood, so it looks like we might get a program here with FTR, possibly with Tommaso Ciampa. This could be a possible tag team matchup scenario, but it looks like Dax Hardwood would be facing Tommaso Ciampa on Collision. And moving on from that, we go into our main event of AEW Dynamite. It is Jet Speed and Adam Page defending the trios titles against the Don Callis family, Kyle Fletcher, Okada, and Mark Davis. The match itself, I thought, was a decent match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between both teams, with the Don Callis family keeping the pace of the match. Page hits a fall-away slam in the middle of the ring. Fletcher then throws Knight off the ropes into the barricade to the outside. Bayley hits a moonsault to the outside as well. Bayley then hits a running shooting star press in the middle of the ring, followed by a moonsault knee drop in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Adam Page and Mark Davis both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Page hitting a deadeye for a near fall. Bayley then hits a poison rana, followed by a moonsault to the outside. MJF is here. He attacks Adam Page. This allowed Okada to hit a Rainmaker, followed by Davis hitting a devastating pile driver in the middle of the ring. Pins for the 3. And your winners of the match and new AEW Trios champions are the Don Callis family. Hats off to the Don Callis family for getting the win in this matchup. Couple of things I want to talk about with you guys, man, before I get the hell up out of here. I'm going to be honest, man. This probably was one of the worst AEW episodes to date, to be honest with you, man. I don't know what the fuck was going on last night. Really no storyline progression going into Revolution. Yes, there was the backstage interview, if you want to call it that, between the Bucks and FTR, knowing that FTR made it personal when FTR attacked the Young Bucks family, setting up their tag team matchup at Revolution. You know, we hear MJF and Adam Page. MJF has a match to open up Dynamite last night for the AEW World title. So I want to talk about that first and foremost with MJF. Number one, I don't know why the hell this match was booked. I understand that they had this back and forth banner here between Kevin Knight and MJF, which ultimately, you know, caused this match to happen or come to fruition on AEW Dynamite. I'm going to be honest, man. There's no reason why MJF should be defending that AEW World title right now until we get to Revolution, to be honest with you. And it's not taking anything away from Kevin Knight. Look, Kevin Knight is the future of this business. I said it since day one, since the guy came into the fold of AEW. He's got a lot of talent. He's good on the microphone, and he's tremendous in the ring. But at the end of the day, the reason why they're booking this matchup, or booked this matchup, is because of what happened on Collision, and the fact that Adam Page is seemingly in a trios with Jet Speed, Mike Bailey, and Kevin Knight. With that being said, did Kevin Knight put on a great performance last night against MJF in that matchup? Yeah, he did. He really did. But the match did not need to be booked. MJF does not need to defend the AEW World title a week before we get to Revolution. It's absolutely fucking pointless. There's no reason for it. So we have that. You know, we also see, I mean, bro, Adam Page had a match that literally lasted maybe 10 seconds against some jobber that he beat the shit out of. And then we have, you know, this whole thing with the Don Callis family. It's just, it was all over the goddamn place last night, man. We had Thunder Rosa versus Tekla, which I thought was actually a decent match. It's great to see Thunder Rosa back. And it looks like Statlander has some unfinished business with Tekla. I think they announced the match last night that it will, in fact, be Tekla versus Statlander in a 2 out of 3 falls match, from what I was told. So clearly they have some unfinished business, and that match most likely will take place at Revolution. So, yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, was AEW Dynamite last night all that great? No. There's a lot of people that had their own gripes with Dynamite last night. It was all over the place, bro. I mean, you have Swerve and Brody King pretty much fighting over who's the most dangerous man in AEW. Swerve chokes the shit out of Brody King last night using a chain, pretty much sending a message to Brody King. And I'm going to be honest, man. My standpoint with Brody King is the same as what I said last week. Brody King, is he a main event caliber talent? Yeah, he is. But it's just hard for me to get behind Brody King being a main event talent, knowing that he's been predominantly in tag teams throughout his entire duration of his career in AEW. Whether it's with the House of Black, whether it was teaming up with Buddy Matthews and the Hounds of Hell, or him recently teaming up with Bandito as Brodito and then becoming the AEW World Tag Team Champions. I mean, not for nothing, Brody King has had more success in AEW being with a tag team than he has on his own. You know, and that's just keeping it real. Do I see him, in my mind, being a main event guy? I don't know, bro. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying I put him in the same category as a Mark Briscoe. I'm not saying that. But we need build. We need storyline to get behind Brody King. At least for me to realize that this is a main event caliber talent. And a main event guy. A guy that can have the AEW World title and carry this company on his back. I just don't see it right now with Brody King. Bandito has a match against Andrade, which, by the way, I'm going to let y'all know this right now. This matchup between Bandito and Andrade might be the sleeper match at Revolution. This might be the 5-star match at Revolution between Bandito and Andrade. This was a glorified dream match for a lot of fans, and these two guys are going to tear the house down in LA at Revolution. I'm just letting you guys know that now. We also see Jon Moxley in a matchup against Hechicero. Seems like Jon Moxley, more times as of late, has had these AEW Continental title eliminator matches, which I can't stand. And it looks like they have some unfinished business with the Don Callis family. Look, I don't know where the hell they're going with this. I mean, if we're starting with this whole situation with the Death Riders and Don Callis family, number one, when it pertains to the Death Riders, you got a heel stable with the babyface leader in Jon Moxley. And my standpoint has been the same ever since Jon Moxley won that Continental title in the Continental Classic Tournament. When he was out there celebrating with the Death Riders, I thought the Death Riders were going to beat the shit out of Jon Moxley and leave him in a puddle of his own piss. But that wasn't the case. They were all parading around, celebrating with Jon Moxley like, oh, okay, this is great. And yeah, he won the title. He brought gold back to the Death Riders. But I don't see how we have a heel stable and a babyface leader. It just doesn't, like, I don't even know the message with Death Riders anymore at this point. I really don't. And it seems like the Death Riders have some unfinished business with Don Callis family. You had Jon Moxley facing off against almost half of the Don Callis family at this point with El Clone. We just had the match last night with Hechicero. You know, it's getting to, and now he has a matchup against Takeshita at Revolution. So I don't know what the deal is with the Death Riders and the Don Callis family. I have no idea, man. To me, it's the whole the Death Riders experiment has just run its course, bro. That well has run dry. I'm sorry. It's so goddamn stale at this point, bro. And then we get to Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin take on the likes of Gabe Kidd and Clark Connors. I thought it was a decent match. But my issue with this matchup is where are we going with Darby Allin? What are we doing with Darby? I thought Darby had some unfinished business with the Death Riders. Now he's focused and fixated on Gabe Kidd and Clark Connors, and which we all thought in the beginning, before Connors even showed up, that maybe Gabe Kidd was a part of the Death Riders. Because seemingly every time Darby went up against the Death Riders, Gabe Kidd was in the vicinity beating the shit out of Darby Allin. But there's been no indication that Gabe Kidd has joined the Death Riders or vice versa. So we get this tag team matchup last night. Solid matchup. And Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin were victorious in this match. And then out of nowhere, we see the debut of David Finlay. David Finlay comes out to, underneath the ring, jumps into the ring. He beats the shit out of Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin, pretty much sending a message to Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin that David Finlay is in AEW. And it looks like AEW has officially signed last night the Dogs, or the War Dogs, if that for that matter. I think he's calling them the Dogs. And Clark Connors, Gabe Kidd, and David Finlay, another stable added to AEW's already bloated roster. So we're going to see how this plays out. Obviously, Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy, that's just them two against these three guys, seemingly. So I don't know what's going to go on with that. I don't know if Roderick Strong is going to come back and help Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin. We don't know. We don't know where the hell this is going or what the deal is. But all we do know right now is that Darby Allin has an issue with the Dogs, seemingly with David Finlay, Clark Connors, and Gabe Kidd. So we're going to see how this plays out, man. But I don't know. The other thing that we saw last night, obviously we talked about Thunder Rosa and Tekla. Looks like Statlander has some unfinished business with Tekla. She's going to have a match most likely at Revolution. From what I heard, it was a 2 out of 3 falls match. But I got to be honest, man. The hype going into Revolution, I'm not sitting here saying the card's bad at all, but the hype around it, the storylines going into it, man, it's not that much story. The main story that we have right now is Adam Page and MJF. Where seemingly MJF is, I wouldn't say MJF, but Adam Page is pretty much putting his entire future on the line, because if he can't beat MJF, he'll never challenge for the AEW World title again. That's the whole story going around for this matchup. Texas Death Match, it should be good. It should be very entertaining. Looking forward to the match, but, I don't know, man. It feels like Revolution is just, I don't know. I really don't know. And that's the best way I can put it, man, and putting it nicely. But we got Swerve and Brody King pretty much to decide who is the most dangerous man in the confines of AEW, whether it is Swerve Strickland or Brody King. That's why they're booking this matchup, because there's nothing else left right now for Swerve, and there's nothing left for Brody King at this time. Kenny Omega is over in Japan right now. We have injuries still that are hurting this company. Keith Lee is out. We have Jay White's out. We also have the likes of Will Ospreay also out with injury, as well as Adam Cole and others. So it's all, obviously the injuries are hurting this company as far as storylines, as far as projection for this company, and intrigue for AEW. Which is crazy, because I feel like a couple weeks ago, I literally told you guys that AEW, especially the main event scene, has been red hot. And I'm not saying it's still not red hot, but last night, man, it was just a complete and utter shit show last night. No sense of direction. We had the debut of the Inspiration last night against the Brawling Birds, which right now I can tell you that the Inspiration are just solely there to put other women tag teams over, to be honest with you. And the Brawling Birds, look, they're a solid tag team. I'm not taking anything away from the Brawling Birds. But my issue with the Brawling Birds is I don't know why we had to have Jamie Hayter in a makeshift tag team to go after the women's tag team titles. Why can we not have Jamie Hayter in the women's main event scene, whether it's for the AEW World title or the TBS title? I understand if you don't really have plans for Alex Windsor. I understand that. But we're talking about a former AEW Women's Champion in Jamie Hayter. You guys have no plans to push a former AEW Women's Champion back in the main event scene. You know what I mean? And like I said, they have injuries and they're missing talent. Like, where the hell was Rio? Where is Nyla Rose? Where's Sheeta? Where's Britt Baker? Where's Camille? Is Camille even still with the goddamn company? Monet's taking some time off. You know what I mean? So again, it's I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know. AEW is going into Revolution. I feel like AEW needs a reset, to be honest with you. They keep hiring talent, which, okay, that's fine. But you're hiring talent for a roster that is already severely bloated. Severely bloated. You know, we got Dax and the Young Bucks going after the AEW Tag Team titles at Revolution. I'm going to be honest too, bro, and I'm going to say this until I see change. Where in the hell is Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, bro? We have not seen these goddamn guys since All Out in September. Here we now we're in March. You know, it's been months since we've seen the likes of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. And at the end of the day, the storyline is in itself with Copeland and Cage taking on FTR again after what happened and what they did to Beth Copeland at All Out. So again, I mean, I don't know where the hell Copeland is or where the hell Cage is. We haven't seen the patriarchy at all. I know Nick Wayne was out with injury. We haven't seen Nick Wayne, Kip Sabian, Mother Wayne. We haven't seen any of these individuals at all for a while. So I don't know what the hell Copeland and Cage are doing, but they need to come back, figure out what the fuck they're doing. I mean, bro, I don't know, man. I really don't know. And at the end of the day, man, it's one of those things where at times I try to do my best to defend this company and look at the positives with AEW. But, bro, after last night, man, it was really hard for me to find any kind of positive coming out of AEW Dynamite last night. To be honest, man, the show was all over the goddamn place. And, yeah, it was great to hear from Tommaso Ciampa. It really was. Looks like he's going to have a matchup against Dax Hardwood. But everybody's initial mindset was, okay, FTR is going to be beefing with Tommaso Ciampa. Is there a certain somebody possibly leaving WWE to join Tommaso in AEW in the likes of Johnny Gargano? Again, if they want to reunite DIY in AEW, I'm all for it. Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about two guys that were definitely, you know, the talks of NXT back in the day when it was NXT Black and Gold. The two of the top guys in that company. And that, you know, and my thing is, again, you bring in someone like Johnny Gargano, I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. You know, Ciampa, you know, it looks like Ciampa also wants to go back after the TNT title. He wants to get Sylvie back. He was pissed off that Fletcher called it Pinky or whatever the hell he called it. So it looks like, you know, Ciampa has his mindset on getting the TNT title back. So we're going to see how that plays out. But again, man, this Dynamite episode, man, it just fell flat on its ass. I honestly didn't give a rat's ass about last night. There was no storyline intrigue besides Adam Page and MJF. And there's really no, you know, the road to Revolution, man. It's not there. I genuinely believe that last night's episode of Dynamite was probably one of the worst episodes of Dynamite that we've seen in quite some time. No sense of direction, no sense of intrigue, and just, at the end of the day, man, it was absolutely boring. Absolutely boring, man. And hopefully things start to pick up for AEW, and hopefully things start to change, man. But last night's episode was absolutely boring. But with that being said, though, this is my review of AEW Dynamite. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.